Hi, I'm Muhammed Hamdan and this is Nightline, and here are the top stories. PM sets out clear policy on acquisitions of new air defence assets. Also, Putrajaya weighs new legal framework to tackle bullying among minors. Hello there, good morning. We begin with this headlining story. Any decision on the procurement of new air defence assets will be made through the Technical Committee of the Royal Malaysian Air Force. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim stressed that the government's policy is clear in that such acquisitions will only proceed with the committee's approval. Explaining the matter during the Prime Minister's question time in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday, Anwar said the government would not sign any contract if it could not be assured of the asset's serviceability.
Soal sama ada Black Hawk atau F-18 daripada Kuwait yang dicadangkan, itu seperti mana saya jelaskan dasarnya, saya Deputi Pertahanan jelaskan keputusan itu mesti dibuat oleh Technical Committee TUDM kalau dalam kes pesawat TUDM sendiri, dan mereka akan penuh bertanggungjawab tentang kesiapsiagaannya. Kalau tidak dapat dipertahankan, kita tidak akan menandatangani. Itu jelas dasar kita.
On Saturday, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim warned the Defence Ministry not to repeat past mistakes when buying military equipment, especially used aircraft that could risk the lives of pilots and personnel. Sultan Ibrahim, as Supreme Commander of the Malaysian Armed Forces, also urged the ministry to cancel plans to lease over 30-year-old Black Hawk helicopters, fearing the same mistake could happen again. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has reaffirmed that the government will not compromise on issues relating to national security, particularly involving alleged intelligence leaks, as he vowed full disclosure in the wake of a smuggling scandal involving senior military officials. Anwar said the Armed Forces Chief, General Tan Sri Muhammad Nizam Jaafar, has been tasked to investigate the matter thoroughly, while the MACC has been given full authority to carry out its investigations, including into other high-profile cases.
Menteri Pertahanan ambil berat perkara ini. Ya. Semalam dengan menghadap Kebadulian Tuan Agong, dibangkitkan lagi perkara ini, dan kita akan bongkar sepenuhnya. Kerana ini, saya setuju, ini soal keselamatan negara, tak boleh kompromi. Tapi soalnya mengapa sekarang?
The Prime Minister also said no one will be protected if found guilty of selling national secrets, describing it as a national disaster if such crimes are tolerated. Last week, 5 senior armed forces officers were among 10 suspects remanded by the MACC in connection with a smuggling syndicate in the south of the country. They are suspected of colluding with the syndicate by leaking operational details, enabling the smuggling of prohibited goods worth more than 5 million ringgit each month. During the session, the Prime Minister also addressed questions on assistance for the Indian community, clarifying that aid is channeled through various ministries and is not limited to the Malaysian Indian Transformation Unit or MITRA, which receives an annual allocation of 100 million ringgit.
Pada tahun 2024, dari 100 juta ringgit, kita telah belanja 98.9 juta ringgit yang memberi manfaat kepada 122,082 masyarakat India. Kemudian, untuk bantuan yang berikut ialah subsidi pendidikan awal 9.32 juta. Bantuan pengajian tinggi IPT B40 17.63 juta.
Beyond MITRA, the Indian community also receives aid through other initiatives such as the Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah Cash Assistance, which reached 1 billion ringgit this year, and the Housing Credit Guarantee Scheme worth 1.2 billion ringgit. The case against the 5 teenage girls allegedly involved in the bullying of Zara Khairina Mahathir will proceed at the Kota Kinabalu Juvenile Court on Wednesday. The Attorney General's chambers clarified that the charges relate only to acts of bullying and are not connected to the death of the Form 1 student. The charges will be filed under Section 507C1 of the Penal Code, which covers bullying alone. The clarification from the AG's chambers follows a statement by the family's lawyer, who urged the prosecution to defer the charges under Section 507C and instead proceed under Section 507D, subsection 2, which pertains to causing a person to believe that harm will be caused, which they argued would be more appropriate. The family's legal team contended that if the girls were charged under Section 507C and plead guilty, they could not be retried under Section 507D should the inquest later determine that a more serious offence occurred, citing Article 7(2) of the Federal Constitution. The AG's chambers dismissed the claims as speculative and unsupported by facts, stressing that the charges are based on evidence and findings from police investigations. At the same time, an inquest must still be held to determine the actual cause of Zara Khairina's death. Meanwhile, Law and Institutional Reform Minister Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said assured that the 5 teenagers will continue to be protected under the Child Act, which guarantees confidentiality, legal representation and fair treatment. She stressed that they are still children in the eyes of the law and that their rights must be safeguarded even as they are being held accountable. Azalina was responding to concerns raised by the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, or SUHAKAM, over the public disclosure of the teenagers' identities, whether directly or indirectly. SUHAKAM reminded both the public and the media to act responsibly and comply with the law, particularly in matters involving the rights and protection of children. Earlier, Azalina announced that the government will review the need to enact an anti-bullying law focusing on setting up a tribunal to hear bullying cases involving students and children. She said there was currently no specific definition or clear punishment for the offence of bullying under any legal provision, with such cases being prosecuted under the Penal Code or other existing legislation.
There are concerns. When perpetrators and victims are children, the Child Act still applies. So this is something I think the Cabinet has to discuss, whether should we be looking into another processes when it comes to children bullying. Whether do we need a tribunal system? Should we look at a different set of laws that can apply?
Met by reporters at the ASEAN Law Forum 2025, Azalina stressed that punishments under any new framework should aim to be more rehabilitative and less punitive for minors. She added that in drafting such frameworks, Malaysia will look at examples in other countries in terms of the various approaches that were adopted. Meanwhile, police have arrested a man suspected of spreading false information on TikTok, claiming that Zara Khairina's death was a planned homicide. According to Bukit Aman Criminal Investigation Department Director Dr. M. Kumar, the viral video featured an audio recording that allegedly disclosed findings from the teen's post-mortem. He said the 2-minute-long clip contained false statements that described the teenager's death as a premeditated killing. Following the arrest of the 51-year-old man on Monday night, police also seized a mobile phone believed to have been used in the case. The suspect has been remanded for 3 days. Moving on, the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, has recorded a statement from a man who had claimed on TikTok that he was a pathologist involved in Zara Khairina's post-mortem. The MCMC said the suspect was tracked down in Kota Damansara late on Monday night after the commission recorded the statements of 2 other people who were seen with the man in a TikTok live stream. The Health Ministry has confirmed that the suspect is not a pathologist. The suspect was brought to the Dang Wangi Police Headquarters to have his statement taken. His communication devices were also confiscated for further investigation. If convicted, the man faces up to 2 years in prison, a maximum fine of 500,000 ringgit or both. Now, the Shah Alam High Court has fixed August 25th for the hearing of an application to exhume the body of UTM Palapes trainee Shamsul Haris Shamsuddin. The court set the date after the Inspector General of Police and the Attorney General's chambers, named as respondents, requested to file their affidavits in reply. Both respondents have until this Friday to do so. Shamsul Haris, aged 22, died during training at the Army Combat Training Centre in Ulu Tiram on July 28th. Johor Police earlier stated that the initial post-mortem uncovered no criminal injuries. However, the mother of the deceased demanded an inquiry after discovering unexplained bruises on her son's body. The region of Johor, Tunku Mahkota Ismail, has called for immediate and strict enforcement to combat the culture of bullying. He stressed that every educational institution must be a safe space for children. The call comes after the region visited a 10-year-old cancer patient who was allegedly bullied at his school at a private hospital in Johor Bahru on Tuesday. He was accompanied by the Raja Muda of Johor, Tunku Iskandar Ibni Tunku Ismail, and Johor Menteri Besar, Dr. On Hafiz Ghazi. The statement was also shared on the official Facebook page, His Royal Highness Crown Prince of Johor. The region further ordered the immediate launch of a statewide anti-bullying campaign in Johor.
Untuk memastikan bahawa kita ada zero tolerance when it comes to bullying in the state of Johor. Dan semua agensi, termasuklah PDRM, sekolah-sekolah agama, sekolah di bawah Kementerian Pendidikan, agensi kerajaan negeri akan bersama-sama dalam satu saf.
On Hafiz added that the content and action plans for the campaign will be announced soon. Earlier, the victim's mother, Siti Suhaina Misdi, alleged that her son, Izul Islam Azwan Isaidi, suffered a concussion and memory loss after being repeatedly bullied. The boy was allegedly assaulted twice, once by a 10-year-old and another time by a 12-year-old at both a religious school and a national school in Skudai on February 21st and August 7th, respectively. In other news, the Attorney General's Chambers has confirmed that 4 individuals, including UMNO Youth Chief Dr. Muhammad Akmal Saleh and Bersatu Youth Chief Muhammad Hilman Idham, will be charged over statements deemed to threaten public order. In a statement on Tuesday, the AGC's Chambers said the decision to charge them under Section 505B of the Penal Code was made after reviewing the investigation papers submitted by the police on statements made by the two on social media. Another individual, Siti Haja Aflah Rudin, also faces the same charge following a social media post. Akmal confirmed on social media that he had been contacted by police and said that he will be charged this Friday, while Hilman is expected to be charged at the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates Court on Wednesday. Malaysia must sign 18 international agreements before making any decision on developing nuclear energy in the country. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof said this includes 3 agreements with the United States.
There are 18 international treaties, agreements that we need to sign, and one of which is 123 agreement with the United States and many others. So only then we can firm up what will be the final decision, whether nuclear will be one of our energy mix in the future.
Fadilah said several locations in Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah have been identified as potential sites for nuclear plant development. He added that the government is also assessing the potential of using small modular reactors as a stable energy source in areas experiencing difficulty in obtaining renewable energy. Waste management strategies are also being looked into to ensure nuclear energy is integrated responsibly. Malaysia posted a record-high trade value of 265.92 billion ringgit in July, up 3.8% from 234.85 billion ringgit a year earlier. The growth was driven by stronger exports, which reached their highest level in nearly 3 years. According to the Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry, exports rose 6.8% to 140.45 billion ringgit. Imports also edged up by 0.6% to 125.47 billion ringgit, resulting in a trade surplus of 14.98 billion ringgit. Exports of electrical and electronic or EME products remain the key driver, surging nearly 12 billion ringgit to 63.31 billion ringgit. From January to July, total trade expanded 4.7% to 1.731 trillion ringgit, generating a trade surplus of 70.32 billion ringgit. Malaysia also recorded positive export growth with all major trading partners, namely ASEAN, China, the US, Taiwan, and the European Union. China's youth unemployment rate rose to its highest level in 11 months in July as a record number of graduates enter an already shaky labour market. According to the data released by the National Bureau of Statistics on Tuesday, the jobless rate for the 16 to 24 age group, excluding students, ticked up to 17.8% in July from 14.5% the previous month. Meanwhile, for those aged 25 to 29, unemployment stood at 6.9%, up from 6.7% in June. The surge comes as 12.2 million university graduates joined a labour pool already struggling with limited openings that match their skills and education. Despite government efforts to support job seekers, unemployment remains elevated, driven by a mismatch between expectations and available roles amid weak domestic demand and sluggish traditional growth sectors like real estate. Three arrested in 4 million ringgit drug bust. This and more after this breather.
Engkau esok kau filekan bercerai dengan wasit. Kenapa you nak anak kan?
Ya, anak-anak. Tapi anak dengan you.
I tak boleh pregnant. I tak nak mengandung. Tolonglah Nisa. Kita sama-sama carikan isteri untuk Abang Wasit. Habis tu Kak Ita ni apa? Melawan. Nisa lah orang yang paling tepat. Habis tu? Sekarang ni Nisa pula yang nak kena jadi mangsa.
Kau nak madu dengan Nisa? Itu yang kau nak?
Apasal? Tak boleh? Salah? Haram ke?
Aku masih sayangkan kau, faham tak?
Nisa buat semua ni demi Kak Ita, tahu tak?
Siapa pandai-pandai kahwinkan anak aku?
Dalam setiap pertandingan, kan ada yang menang, ada yang kalah.
Tak nak. Tak kira. Ita kena menang. Ita dah buat semua benda, dah prepare untuk menang. Tak boleh kalah-kalah. Ingat aku jealous. Kau jangan main gila dengan Zarita Mali.
Nightline continues. Police have busted an operation involving a group of school children, including a 12-year-old girl who created a pornographic website. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the immoral activity was carried out by the suspect together with four friends. Responding to a question from Jerai Member of Parliament Sabri Azid in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday, Saifuddin said the police, in cooperation with relevant ministries, uncovered the disturbing activities during an operation earlier this year. However, he stressed that cases involving children as young as 12 must be addressed through a multi-agency approach.
Yang buat laman sesawang ni budak perempuan umur 12 tahun. Pakat dengan kawan-kawan dia 4 orang. Grup dia ramai. Grup WhatsApp dia 762 orang. Masing-masing ambil gambar bahagian tubuh masing-masing kemudian jual. Dan dia berhenti sekolah sebab dia pendapatan dia jauh lebih tinggi daripada pendapatan mak bapak dia.
The Home Minister acknowledged the complexities of taking action against the children who are subject to various laws. He also added that they cannot be brought to an open court. Police have seized drugs worth 4.16 million ringgit and arrested 3 men, including a foreign national, in a series of raids in the Klang Valley and Malacca. Bukit Aman Narcotics Crime Investigation Department Director Dr. Hussein Omar Khan said the suspects, aged between 25 and 46, were detained during the operation on August 13th. In the first raid at a condominium compound in Bukit Jalil, a local man and a Pakistani man were detained after police found 26.73 kilograms of cannabis on them and in their car. Officers then conducted a subsequent search on a condominium unit and uncovered more drugs, including cannabis buds, ketamine and shabu. In the second raid in Malacca, a man was arrested in Air Molek after police discovered 18.25 kilograms of heroin base along with other substances in his car. Police also seized 3 vehicles worth over 70,000 ringgit. Further checks revealed that one suspect tested positive for cannabis, while the other 2 had prior criminal records for drug-related offences. An unemployed man pleaded guilty to committing mischief by setting fire to a tow truck belonging to the Johor Bahru City Council, MBJB, last week. One Muhammad Nasrul, one Ahmad, aged 31, entered the plea at the Johor Bahru Sessions Court. The accused was charged with committing the act of mischief by using a flammable substance, namely petrol, with the intention of causing destruction. He set fire to an MBJB tow truck, resulting in damages amounting to 24,000 ringgit. The offence was alleged to have taken place at the vehicle storage depot at JB Waterfront, Johor Bahru at 11 a.m. on August 15th. The accused was granted bail of 7,000 ringgit with additional conditions. On Sunday, Johor Bahru South District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Raub Selamat said the incident occurred after the suspect was believed to have been dissatisfied that his vehicle had been towed by MBJB. Hamas accepts new Gaza truce plan. The details when Nightline returns.
Masuk hutan, selam lautan dan tinjau wildlife beraksi dalam Arabian Seas. Africa's Hunters musim pertama. Chasing the Rains. Africa's Hunters musim kedua. Alien Abyss. Layan Animal Documentary di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Lelaki itu lemah. Saya ada jin itu. Oh, boleh tunaikan unlimited rewards. Ingatkan lelaki jin tak cukup satu.
Lagi layan dengan Tonton Up. Rewards non-stop. Nak ni, nak tu. Semua untuk korang. Langgan Tonton RM9.90 je. Baru puas.
Hidup bermasyarakat kena ada kesedaran sivik yang tinggi. Dahulukan sesiapa yang perlu diberi keutamaan.
Perut buncit, apa punca dan kesan kepada tubuh badan.
Semarakkan Hari Kebangsaan dengan pelbagai hidangan nasi. Kegemaran rakyat Malaysia.
Seni batik dah banyak berevolusi. Nampak lebih cantik dan elegan.
Mana lebih baik, beli rumah atau bina rumah sendiri? Kupasannya dalam Soal Wang.
MHI, Isnin hingga Jumaat jam 10 pagi.
Eksklusif di TV3 dan Tonton.
Juara Cat Fashion Week TV3, Evian! Miau miau, miau miau, yeay! Si gebu-gebas berbakar ragdoll ni kini memegang tahta super miaudel pertama Malaysia. Bulu dia perfect, outfit dia very demiurgistic, siap ada crown. Catwalk dia buat juri terpukau. Sebab runway ni King Evian yang punya. Tahniah Ian dah berjaya menawan hati kami semua. Cat Fashion Week, miau menyala, gaya membara.
On to the foreign front. Hamas has informed mediators that it has approved the latest Gaza ceasefire proposal and is ready to resume negotiations to discuss ending Israel's war on Gaza. A source familiar with the talks said on Monday that the proposal includes a 60-day pause in military operations, during which the Israeli army will reposition to allow the entry of humanitarian aid. Half of the 50 Israeli captives will also be exchanged for Palestinian prisoners within the same time frame. However, it remains unclear how Israel will respond, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office previously stated that a deal will only be accepted if all the hostages are released at once. The Hamas announcement comes a day after Qatari Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani held talks with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo. In other news, US President Donald Trump has announced plans to convene a face-to-face summit between Russian leader Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in his latest bid to end Moscow's war in Ukraine. Trump, in a post on Truth Social, announced on Monday that he had begun organizing a summit after a phone call with Putin and stated that he would hold a trilateral meeting with the Russian and Ukrainian leaders following their bilateral talks. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte separately confirmed that Putin had agreed to the two-way meeting, though no date or location was disclosed. Meanwhile, Zelensky, describing his conversation with Trump as very good, said he was ready for a one-on-one meeting with Putin. Trump's proposal comes during high-stakes talks at the White House with Zelensky and top European leaders aimed at ending the war that began with Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Firefighters in Indonesia struggle to contain a 3-day-old fire at an illegal oil well that has killed at least 3 people and injured 2 others. Disaster relief officials said Monday that around 750 people were evacuated from densely populated areas near the site in Blora, Central Java. The oil well, reportedly operating without a permit by local residents, caught fire on Sunday. Relief officials deployed 4 excavators to smother the blaze with soil, but firefighters continue to battle intense flames and face challenges transporting equipment through the area's rugged terrain. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the blaze. And on to sports now. Football and the 2026 AFC U23 Asian Cup qualifiers. There's renewed hope for the national under-23 squad as key players are expected to join the team in Bangkok next month. Terengganu FC and Sabah FC have confirmed they will release captain Ubaidullah Shamsul Fazili and striker Fergus Tierney after completing their upcoming league commitments. However, uncertainty still surrounds Selangor FC forward Alif Izwan Yuslan. The young Tigers face a big challenge. They must win Group F featuring Lebanon, Mongolia and host Thailand, or rank among the top 4 runners-up from 11 groups to reach the final round in Saudi Arabia. Coach Nafuzi Zain's side will be eager to redeem themselves after last month's early exit at the ASEAN U23 Championship in Indonesia. The squad left for Bangkok on Monday and kicks off its Group F campaign against Lebanon on September 3rd. And still on football, the Spanish La Liga, Real Madrid head coach Xabi Alonso said the team's shortened pre-season will not be an excuse as they prepare to kick off their campaign at home to Osasuna on Tuesday. Alonso will take charge at the Santiago Bernabeu for the first time after beginning his reign at the Club World Cup in the US, where the Los Blancos reached the semi-finals. Madrid's request to postpone their league opener to a later date was rejected by Spanish football officials, and the team have played just one friendly since their 4-0 loss to Paris Saint-Germain on July 9th.
No, finalmente no ha podido ser y es lo que es. Hemos tenido tan solo 2 semanas. Y ya no hay que buscar excusas, ya eso se percibe. Nosotros también tenemos muchas ganas, queremos empezar este proyecto nuevo, con jugadores nuevos, entrenador nuevo y traer esta energía que tenemos al estadio y luego merecerlo, no decir no.
Alonso has several new signings, including former Liverpool defender Trent Alexander-Arnold at his disposal, as Madrid look to turn the page on a disappointing end to the Carlo Ancelotti era. And as we wrap up Nightline this time around, we leave you with visuals of Tour de France Motor Ancien, where 50 riders setting off from Guernecourt on a 4,000-kilometer journey to the Pyrenees, celebrating their passion for vintage motorcycles. With that, I'm Muhammed. Hamdan. Thanks for watching and take care.